my rights as a voter? The answer is quite a lot, as long as you're registered to vote. First things first, we have to talk about Indiana's voter ID laws. So under Indiana's 2005 voter ID law, your photo identification must meet 4 criteria. It must display your photo, your name, though it doesn't have to be a perfect match, an expiration date, and either be current or have expired sometime after the date of the last general election, and be issued by the state of Indiana or the US government. There are a handful of photo IDs that fall into those categories: an Indiana driver's license, a US passport, an Indiana state identification card that you can get from the BMV, or a military ID card. All work. And student IDs at Indiana state colleges and universities may also work, as long as they follow the rest of the 4 criteria. However, students at private institutions may not use student IDs for voting. If for some reason you don't have one of these forms of identification on election day, you have only until before noon, 10 days after the election, to provide the necessary documentation to your county election board. On election day, if you cast a provisional ballot, which will be kept separate from other ballots until everything is kosher. Speaking of provisional ballots, if your name doesn't appear on your county's voter rolls but you are registered to vote, you can cast a provisional ballot and then work out what happened or what went wrong later. Now on to voter accessibility. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 requires polling places to have at least one accessible voting machine, as well as making the rest of the facility accessible. For example, if you're unable to stand for long periods of time, you may request a chair. Or if you're visually impaired, you may also request a magnifier, which will be on hand. Voters with disabilities may seek assistance from poll workers, one from each political party, and you're also able to designate a friend or relative to assist you during voting, but they must complete an affidavit of voter assistance at the polls. That's available at polling stations before entering the voting booth. If you experience issues while voting, Indiana Disability Rights has several options for getting a hold of them, which will be listed at the end of this video. And for Hoosiers who cannot read or write in English, you can also request assistance at the polls. The Secretary of State's office has a grievance form if you are not assisted, and you can call them with staff on hand from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Voting places are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., local time on election day. But if lines are long, Indiana law says as long as you're in line before 6 p.m., you have the right to cast a ballot. If you see a poll worker, scanning the lines at the end of the day, make sure you flag them down, make sure you are noticed, but stay in line and remain social distancing. The Indiana Secretary of State's voter rights pamphlet says at the very top, you're guaranteed the right to a free and fair election. There are a handful of things that fall into that category, like not having campaign literature within polling places or the 50-foot stretch leading into them. Since the first presidential debate, we've heard a lot more concerns about voter intimidation. There are legal poll watchers who go through a whole credentialing process, are selected by counties or political party chairs, and are formally appointed, and they have a credential they are issued and must wear at all times like any other poll worker. Voter intimidation is a specific crime in Indiana law, a level 6 felony defined as a person who knowingly or intentionally intimidates, threatens, or coerces an individual for voting or attempting to vote, urging or aiding another individual to vote or attempt to vote, or exercising any power or duty under this title concerning registration or voting. Therefore, if you feel threatened or intimidated by someone because you are in line to vote, call law enforcement. You also have the option to reach out to the Secretary of State's office or national hotlines like 866 Our Vote, which is a collaboration of several organizations like the ACLU, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and the League of Women Voters. Or you can reach out to ProPublica's Election Land Project, which you can text VOTE to 81380.